This is the final word, England West Indies Daily, the third test, day 3 from Edgbaston. Jeff Lemon and Cameron Punsonby with you. The show's brought to you by Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City. If you want the ad break free feed, that's at patreon.com/the final word. And we're going to start the way that we usually do. Cam, you are going to tell me about a day of Test cricket in all its intricacy and all its meandering and all its glories, and you're going to do that in the space of 30 seconds.
Well, Ben Stokes says he doesn't like the word ruthless. That was as ruthless as it gets from England. Mark Wood gets his 4th 5-wicket haul for England, cleaning up the West Indies' tail and middle order for that matter, to bowl the Windies out for 175. It leaves England with 82 runs to win. Zach Crawley's gone and got an X-ray on his finger, so Ben Stokes has gone and opened the batting, and he's only gone and got the fastest 50 by an England Test cricketer ever. He finishes on 57 not out of 28 balls. Ben Duckett on 25 off 16. They've chased 82 in 7.2 overs. More numbers, more stats. They were the fastest team ever to score 50 runs in the Test history, breaking their own record that they set last Test match. It's Bazball 2.0. It's really fun. They're winning cricket matches. 3-0 England.
It's a lot easier to do that, I suppose, to score a record 50 when you've got 80 to chase and it just doesn't matter. Like it would have to be the most spectacular fuck up in just about the history of the high level game to find a way to lose a Test match from there. So that wasn't going to happen. I suppose it's the freedom. You see players do these things when they've got the freedom of either they're absolutely losing a game and it doesn't matter, or they're absolutely winning a game and it doesn't matter. And why not have the freedom? So Stokes has that record now where he made 100 opening the batting as a temp player a few years ago, if I remember rightly. So that's probably only the second time he's opened, which means he's probably now averaging 150 as an opener, which I'm sure some people will bring up at some point to say that he should be opening
best opener
in
of
the
all
future.
Time. Easy.
Best opener of all time. I'm sure you can asterisk the hell out of that. But if we wind it back to the start of the day, it didn't feel initially like it was necessarily going to go that way. There was always the possibility of West Indies sliding away, but they had this opportunity in the way that they've had opportunities throughout the series, and I'm not just talking about 50 for 5 having England down in that first innings, but through the series, things that we saw at Trent Bridge as well, where you go, well, if they just get things together for a day, then they can really push. You know, they were 2 down overnight. They weren't that far behind. So you thought, well, if they can even get to a lead of 200, you never know. And for a while, it looked like that might actually happen. You know, some of the luck was running with them. Mark Wood bowls an awesome early spell. He's getting the ball to move. He's got Mikyle Louis fending it near a short leg, or where a short leg would have been if they chose to have a short leg, which they didn't and continued not doing. There's luck that's going with West Indies as well. Athanase has that one that he plays. He doesn't really edge it, but he plays it with an open face through Harry Brook's hands at third slip. You've got Shoaib Bashir bowling a really good spell early on with that side the off stump, turning in, really threatening but not getting wickets. He gets, when Athanase finally gets out, Bashir gets an outside edge from Kavem Hodge, first ball that goes through first slip, goes fine of Shoaib at first slip. So they're living dangerously, but it's working. And they're building up, and a partnership builds between Hodge and Louis, and they get to scores level, and they tick off a 50 partnership. And you know, there's that period of the game where you're thinking, all right, well, they might get themselves in this. They're not entirely in it yet, but they could be in it in 4 hours' time.
The West Indies just aren't as good as England. That's basically, in my opinion, what it boils down to. You've got a batting lineup of people. I think Mikyle Louis is a perfect example. Everyone is in agreement that he's played well this series, and I think he has played well this series. He's got 150 in 6 innings. He keeps on getting to 20 and getting out, and I think there is the kind of the crux of the series as a whole, in that West Indies' top 6 are all individually talented enough to have their moments, have their day, but not individually talented enough to all have their series at the same time. So it was only in the first innings at Trent Bridge where you had kind of Kavem Hodge, Holder and like De Silva all contributors like at this concurrently, consecutively, to make a tangible difference to the match. And so you have this kind of start to proceedings where you go, oh, Louis and Hodge, they're going well. Oh, it's 125 for 3, just as it was 17 for none in the first innings. But there isn't that depth of quality to maintain that pressure on England. And me and Adam did a really kind of quite bizarre daily review of the first day when the West Indies kind of ended up winning the day because they'd got England 3 down and they had 250 on the board, and you thought, oh, blimey hell, like, are the West Indies somehow going to do this? And in my heart of hearts, I still was like, England are going to end up winning this by 8 to 10 wickets. That's just the way it's going to happen. That's the way this is going to play out, because the West Indies aren't going to go and get 350 again or for the first time in their second innings. And that was the pattern of the day. And as soon as you've got England, as you're saying, without that kind of pressure on them of, we have a small run chase, Ben Stokes is like, you know what, I'm going to go and have some fun. And he's belted 11 boundaries in 28 balls during his stay at the crease. Have we learned anything? I'm trying to think of something I can say to make it seem like there's something to take away from this. I'll be really fascinated to see the West Indies in their home conditions against South Africa, to see how this, because there are the makings of a good test team within this unit of players. And then on the flip side, we've probably potentially got more of the same for England. There's basically, England are looking to win this summer 6-0, something they haven't done, win every home test match since 2004. So that is an achievement in itself. But we're basically discussing how England are winning rather than if they'll win. And so that's kind of why it's felt like a bit of a tamer series.
And you look at it, it didn't feel like there was a huge amount of jeopardy in there, but that possibility, if that partnership had stayed together, Mikyle Louis, it's an interesting series, like you say, because he's won a lot of praise for just being able to stick in there. So scores of 27, 14, 21, 17, 26, and then finally got his first half century in his 6th innings today. So they're not mind-blowing numbers, but the balls faced in those innings, 58, 49, 41, 40, 61, 95. So he's batted out a period of time. He hasn't batted for less than an hour in any of the 6 innings in the series, which is quite an achievement in itself for an opener coming to England, not knowing how to necessarily deal with new ball swing in England. And then as that sort of lacquer starts to come off and the swing gets a bit different, that reverse swing was a factor today as well, especially for Wood later in the innings. And so Mikyle Louis has been able to at least do that first opener's job, survive for a while and try to make things a little bit easier for those coming in next. Kavem Hodge was impressive today, made the 100 that everybody talked about, but he was 50 at just about a run a ball today, got off to a fly. He was 29 off 29 at one point and had just about caught up to Mikyle Louis, and who was 36, I think, at that stage. So Hodge got away quickly, played some good pull shots, gets a half century himself, and then the wickets start to fall at the other end, and he just doesn't get any strike for a few overs, which is sort of what felt like it had a fair bit of influence on him eventually getting out. But it ended up being the Mark Wood show, really. So Athanaze is leg before to the spinner. Stokes comes on and gets Mikyle Louis out with just one that shapes away a little bit and gets him playing at it. It was just after a drinks break, and Mikyle Louis had hit a couple of sixes off Shoaib Bashir as well, so he was starting to get more aggressive when the nick is found there. And then there was this sort of chaotic run of things that came along quickly. So Jason Holder comes in, gets dropped at slip by Zach Crawley, who injures his fingers in the process. Gus Atkinson comes on and gets Holder LBW. This is just before lunch. They've got Josh Da Silva comes out just before the lunch break. So they're 57 in front and 5 down at that point. And you go, well, okay, Hodge, Da Silva, maybe they put on 100 and something. Maybe they give West Indies something to bowl at. But it doesn't last after lunch, because this is Mark Wood's time. He gets, Josh Da Silva gets away with one that's would have been shaving the leg stump, but the umpire's given it not out on the field. The one that did get him out, LBW, was not missing anything. It hit him just above the ankle in front of middle. It was fast and screaming in. And then they've got Atkinson and Wood. It looks like Stokes just trying to blast out the tail and saying, I'm sick of this number 9, 10, 11 putting on runs against us. We're not going to have that. We'll just bowl our fastest bowlers at them. Hodge isn't getting much strike. Wood's into a 6th over when he comes on, and he gets a nick from Hodge on 55 with one that's swinging in but not swinging in as much as Hodge expects. So that one nicks. Jaden Seals comes out. He's absolutely nowhere, gets hit on the shoulder and then gets clean bowled. And then Shamar Joseph plays a back cut for 4 off his first ball and then gets caught at slip by Harry Brook. So, I mean, it was just brutal, a brutal spell of bowling from Wood, who picks up 3 in an over and was bowling 90 plus all day and getting the ball to reverse at speed. Pretty difficult to do anything about it.
I think the Mark Wood element of this is so exciting for England, because the ultimate dream, basically, what everyone wants, because apparently all we care about is the Ashes. England play India at home before the Ashes series. I find it very bizarre that we always just skirt over that as like part of the next 18 months. But the dream is to have Mark Wood and Jofra Archer bowling together away in the Ashes, and that's exciting. It's quite funny how kind of Atkinson gets lumped in with Wood, as when he first got pictures like this lad bowls quick, like he bowls kind of 88, 90 miles an hour. And then you can see, it's so rare, I think you think about this, where it's so rare where you can see a tangible difference between like one skill set and everyone else's. And there was a bouncer that Mark Wood bowled at Kavem Hodge today, which just looked so fucking quick. It was unbelievable. And you go, this is exciting. This is Test cricket at its most exhilarating. And there was an element of debate about whether Mark Wood should have played this Test match, because England had gone into this series and this summer being like, we're going to rotate. We want to have a look at Pennington. We want to have a look at Potts. And then almost in the same way that you think about a pre-Stokes era, as soon as you start planning to plan, as it were, then things fall into place, and you're like, actually, it's much simpler if we just keep picking these lads. If you want to keep Mark Wood wrapped up in cotton wool, then yeah, you can make the argument, you go, oh, maybe rest him for this game. But also, if you want him to get somewhere in 18 months, you need him to play cricket. So why not keep him going and him performing at the top level? He's now going to have however long off. He'll bowl 20 balls a match in the 100, then come back and maybe play 2 of the Sri Lanka series. It is, I think, the best, like, funnest part of this New England team is that their bowling attack is just so attacking. They go for Mark Wood bowling rockets, they go Gus Atkinson bowling high 80s, and they go Sherwood Bashir, who is just this whiz kid who doesn't make sense in anyone else's head because they see him bowling at the lower level of the sport, and they go, the average is 70. And then he goes to the highest level and he's like, I'm just going to get everyone out, actually. I find Test cricket really, really easy. And it's shaping up for England to have this like wonderfully balanced, with Stokes playing the all-rounder role, bowling attack with like high pace, sack off Chris Woakes in 18 months' time, bring in Jofra Archer. It's all fun and games. England are winning everything. Thank you very much, Jeff.
I mean, it's definitely, it's a point that is worth bringing up. Like, I was very snarky about them picking Mark Wood because of the reasoning that they given, not because it's Mark Wood. You know, I love watching Mark Wood bowl. If I was picking an England team, It would have Mark Wood in it every time he's fit and available, because, like you said, he does something that nobody else can do. And we saw the difference that it can make today. We saw that during the Ashes last year. We've seen it umpteen times in the history of Mark Wood. It was the fact that they'd come out with this reasoning to begin with, saying, oh, well, we need to look beyond the older players and, you know, give our next generation of players some experience, which hasn't happened because Gus Atkinson's the only one who's had a go. And it's been a raging success. He's the leading wicket taker in the series by a distance, 20-plus wickets in the 3 Test matches. Fine, keep him in there. If it's just that what you get from the management of this England camp is a fair serve of bullshit. So if they had come out and said, okay, we're going to pick Mark Wood whenever he's fit because Mark Wood's bloody fast and we want him to be bowling in Australia in 18 months and we'll give him as much Test cricket as he can safely handle between now and then, fine. If they'd said, we can only pick one of Woakes and Anderson because they're effectively the same bowler and Woakes is a better bat, so we're going to pick him instead, you know, then I think that would have been a rationale that would have been defensible. It's when they came out with their whole story about, oh, we need to have the opportunity for young players and also we're not going to pick any of them, that things start to fall down. So Mark Wood today just got to be Mark Wood the bowler, and he deserved that moment. He deserved to, and he's been unlucky through the series. He's had umpires' calls go against him. He's had catches put down and all the rest of it. And today things finally clicked for him. The luck went with him. I didn't even mention the Alzari Joseph bowled, the one that went straight through him and took out middle stump. So fast, ball reversing, getting everything working his way. A fun day for Mark Wood, and, you know, a fun day for Ben Stokes at the end, who comes out and he's just on one knee belting them over cover and then playing big slogging pull shots, walking at the bowlers. He bashes up Alzari Joseph first, takes down Jaden Seals second. They bring Jason Holder on to try to get some control, takes him down as well. Shamar Joseph doesn't even get to come on and have a bowl until they need 10 runs to win, which seems fairly insane from Craig Brathwaite not to maybe give him a go. You know, the kid is quite good, who everybody seems to have noticed is quite good at bowling, but it was really just carnival stuff. And for a minute there, Stokes was in the frame to try to challenge Misbah ul-Haq for the fastest Test 50, which is 21 balls. At that point, so the first time it was mentioned on comms, he immediately then got hit in the dick, which is very Ben Stokes areas. Like, it's not a Ben Stokes innings unless he gets hit in the box at least once. And there was a point when he could have equalled it. He was on 42, and he needed 8 from 2 balls to equal Misbah, and he got a rank wide down the leg side, which gets counted as a delivery faced. So I don't think that was deliberate necessarily by Alzarri Joseph, but it was funny.
Yeah, and it kind of... Ben Jones, the irregular but beloved friend of this Final Word podcast, has long said that he is a massive advocate for Ben Stokes batting in the top 3 for England because he's technically like the most proficient player. And also, I always think this, that Ben Stokes opening for England plays into his kind of mantra of being like the selfless leader, of being like, everyone else stay where you are. I'm not going to bat you out of position. I'll be the person to go up top. And so in my head, when he was walking out, I was like, brilliant, this is going to be fun. Is it either going to be high elbow Ben Stokes, get the job done, or is he going to be like, I'm going to try and hit every ball to the moon? And it turned out it was the latter. And all of a sudden, this whole Gilbert Jessup and fastest ever 100 by an England player, or like all these fastest records, it was nice to have an opportunity where it was Stokes being the face of the actual output, if that makes sense. I think I might be being a bit revisionist there, because there was this crazy time when... there was this crazy time when Ben Stokes at the start of this just ran at every delivery, and it was really unusual, and he was playing quite badly, to be honest, and he was kind of trying to show people how ridiculous he wants to take this and make it okay if everyone else kind of got out in silly ways. And for it to now be a case where he went up to the top of the order, he flashed around, he hit the winning runs, or he did hit the winning runs, and I want to get to that in the Hall of Fame. It was nice for him to have his kind of moment. I feel like I'm just being a company man here. I feel like I'm just kind of waxing lyrical about England's kind of quite convincing and kind of trouble-free victory. But that's me. I'm a paid employee by the ECB, so what can you do? Am I? I don't know if I am, actually. They might pay me in some respects. We'll try and work it out.
They help you make a living, I suppose, by staging cricket that you can watch and talk about. Yeah. But let's take a break, then we'll get to the Hall of Fame. It is the Final Word Daily, England, West Indies. The show is brought to you by Westfield, London, Westfield, Stratford City, who'd like us to remind you that the Olympics are here if you need that reminder. And if an endless flotilla of countries, an insanely cool segment about the French Revolution, and someone accidentally flashing a testicle have filled you with 5-ring fever, Cameron, you can get down to the official Team GB live site at Westfield, London. You may think it would make more sense for the live site to be at Westfield, Stratford City, which was built basically for the 2012 Olympics. But don't forget that Westfield, London is built more or less on the site of the 1908 Olympics. Don't forget about that. So you can come and bask in the reflected glory of the City of London police team, who were the gold medalists in tug of war in 1908. Nobody beats the City of London cops when it comes to holding onto a rope. And also swimming silver medalist Frank Beaurepaire, who became a tyre magnate and the Lord Mayor of Melbourne. If you go there, you can watch Team GB storm home to a respectable 5th in most pursuits. Westfield, London, we promise there's no blue body paint. Hall of Fame. What jumped out at you? I'm going to throw in an early nomination for that Alzarri Joseph dismissal I mentioned, purely because when the middle stump was ripped out of the ground, it's really hard to rip out a middle stump these days because they have the stump cam in them, and which means that they have a cable and they have a wire. And you can knock out off stump, you can knock out leg stump, but middle stump usually just leans. This time, middle stump did get ripped out of the ground. The cable got ripped off the connector and the stump went flying about 10 metres backwards when Mark Wood went through there at the speed of light.
Perfect. I'm going to go with... So Craig Brathwaite brings himself on 1 to win, and I thought that was the civilised option because you don't want to waste a fast bowler. No one wants to bowl that over. And Brathwaite is known for bowling these incredibly slow, loopy moon balls. And I was really excited to see just how high and just how slow he was going to bowl it. And lo and behold, he chucked in a bouncer at Ben Stokes, which was 100% a wide ball, flew down the leg side, probably over head height, well taken by Josh De Silva. The umpires were in on the game, kept his arms down. And then just when you thought, okay, he's gone nose, he's going toes, or he's going to go for a change of pace, he just chucked in the biggest, rankest full toss. Ben Stokes flayed it away for the boundary for 6. It was the worst bit of cricket you are likely to see on any cricket pitch across the country, across the world. And I thought it was a fitting end. Fitting end? It was the end. I thought it was the end of the series when it happened. I thought, we're done now. That's enough.
I particularly liked also the umpire at the striker's end saying to Craig Brathwaite, who is an off spinner, remember, That's your one for the over, he said.
Perfect, yeah.
For the short ball. The last bit I'd like
Lovely.
to throw in would be Kumar Sangakkara, who was doing commentary on the television this week, posting up video of him sitting in the comm box watching the Sri Lankan women's team win the Asia Cup game against India at the same time as he was watching the Test match in England. That was nice. That felt wholesome. It was quite a performance by Sri Lanka's women, and I'm sure we'll come to that on the weekly show in the days ahead. So those are our Hall of Fame nominations. That is the Final Word Daily for this series. There have been some short Test matches than is sometimes the case, but we'll be back for the England-Sri Lanka Tests. We'll have plenty of other stuff coming up in the meantime with story times and weekly shows and a couple of big interviews landing in the next couple of weeks, one of which, well, I can just tell you because we've already done it. Jason Holder will be on the Final Word. We've already recorded that interview in the next few weeks at some point, and Adam Collins had a conversation with Adam Zampa as well, so a couple of longer conversations coming up. Thank you, Cameron. You'll be back during the Sri Lanka series as well. Thanks to Daniel Norcross, who's been filling in at times through the series too. Thanks to Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/thefinalword, which is also where you'll find the ad break free feed. That's it from Edgbaston. We'll see you later.